Welcome to Oracle Blockchain Platform session and how we can solve enterprise challenges. We're going to share a number of use cases from different industries and show how you can create compelling blockchain solutions and go from zero to live in days. Now, we're going to, in this session, talk about the enterprise blockchain and introduce it as a concept and share the impact it had on our customers. Highlight capabilities and advantages of our platform, share customer successes in a number of industries, and help you get started on your blockchain journey. Let's get started. So the starting point for blockchain conversation tends to be a lot of fractured data silos in many enterprises and in many enterprise ecosystems. Many organizations, whether internally they need to share data across business units or across a broader ecosystem, use point-to-point data flows, often involving B2B file transfer, sometimes EDI, sometimes spreadsheets attached to email. And that certainly creates a lot of inefficiencies in terms of high reconciliation costs and significant operations impact of discrepancies. It could be expensive if there are intermediaries involved, and certainly vulnerable to human error or fraud. Replacing this sort of framework with an enterprise blockchain replaces vulnerable data sharing with a distributed ledger technology. What this means is that on a real-time basis, you have updates propagated across multiple nodes that belong to each organization, or each business unit, if you will. And this enables single source of truth, shared ledger with non-repudiation, digitally signed transactions, ordered through the consensus mechanisms. So there is a particular sequence of transactions that everybody agrees on. And data stored in a tamper-evident manner that provides for immutability and traceability. In a permission blockchain, of course, all of the organizations that operate the nodes are known and authenticated. The platform is interoperable with a number of other systems and provides high resilience, performance, and scalability. If you're using this blockchain platform to actually represent digital twins of physical or digital assets, you can also leverage them to participate in a tokenized economy. Now, a number of customers and financial services use their platform, starting on the left here with a bank that deployed it for cross-border funds transfer, replacing as a SWIFT messages and the correspondent banking systems. It would take 2 to 3 days to make the funds available. Instead, now the funds are available literally in a few seconds, and the system provides built-in audit trail across all of these different organizations. The second bank created an eKYC system where they're able to open new customer accounts in days, literally in 10 minutes, replacing what used to take 10 days. They store the information on-chain, creating a KYC profile that's securely encrypted and only available for sharing with other organizations when customer approves it, if they're prompted. And the third organization here is providing financial services to a number of banks, including watchlist applications, which often take a long time to get updated with new entities being blacklisted or added to the watch list for organizations that banks are not supposed to do business with. Sometimes there is maintenance period involved, downtime, etc. Instead, using blockchain, they're able to do this on a real-time basis, update those applications, and create an audit trail that ensures that nothing falls through the cracks. In other industries, such as global trade and logistics, government, manufacturing, etc., we see a number of production examples as well. So Global Shipping Business Network is a consortium of container shippers and terminal operators in ports, handling about 1 in 3 containers around the world. They have created a blockchain ledger using Oracle blockchain platform to track a lot of documentation, shipping documentation, and logistics events. They're able to facilitate processes such as cargo release, which instead of 2 or 3 days can now take 2 or 3 hours in port. So Tesla can get a container of parts removed from the ship, put on truck, and exiting the port very quickly because all of the documentation is available already on blockchain. Similarly, for trade finance, a lot of logistics events can trigger immediate payments based on trade finance arrangements and so on. In government, you probably have heard that Oracle has worked with US government to contribute a number of solutions and software for pandemic mitigation, pandemic relief efforts. One of those was a blockchain network created to support test manufacturers for COVID-19 rapid testing devices for at-home testing, schools, workplaces, etc. When the government began approving those devices, they realized that unlike regular labs, those places, those venues don't have any way of reporting data to HHS or CDC. So Oracle created a blockchain network for Abbott Labs and a number of other organizations to help collect the data from different test devices and share it with HHS, CDC, and later on states as well to provide immutability and trusted data. In manufacturing, we have worked with companies and partners who are tracing components and critical minerals that go into creation of electric vehicle batteries. Volvo decided early on that as part of ramping up their production of electrical vehicles, they will require all of their battery suppliers to provide full traceability for things like cobalt and mica and other minerals that sometimes are extracted using unsavory methods, child labor and other things in places like Congo, for example. So they wanted to make sure that they have proper traceability for mining, refining, transportation, every single touch point that those minerals touch before they become cathodes in the batteries, before the batteries get installed in the cars and all of that. So our partner Circular created a solution that traces end-to-end supply chain. Volvo was one of the first adopters, and later on others joined, like Polestar, for example, which is now tracing all of the materials going into the entire car. And Mercedes-Benz, Daimler has been tracing as well, because they are getting their batteries from pretty much the same producers, right? But they went beyond provenance traceability and also wanted to understand and began to trace CO2 emissions from the supply chain, because there is a lot of CO2 being emitted as part of battery manufacturing, mining, refining, etc. So you see examples here, which are not often talked in the press. What you hear often is about Bitcoin and Ethereum and cryptocurrencies. Exciting and fun stuff for sure, but those are very different blockchain networks. They're what we call permissionless or anonymous. Anybody can join and participate, and not really suitable for business purposes. Whereas in the business world, enterprise-focused blockchains are permission blockchains where organizations are invited to join and they're authorized to participate. So there are known identities. There could be private blockchains across business units and legal entities in a single company, or multiple companies joining together in a consortium. What the key difference is that because it's a permissioned network, it operates much faster, much lighter consensus protocols. It can run at thousands of transactions per second, whereas Bitcoin and Ethereum barely break single digit or sometimes low double digit transactions per second. There is also a lot less energy consumption related to the computations and a lot less CO2 emissions by a factor of about 1 million, somebody has estimated. So what makes up a blockchain in an enterprise case, enterprise blockchain? You start with a shared ledger, which is a append-only ledger of transactions. You have smart contracts which operate on top of that ledger to execute business logic and transactions. Privacy and confidentiality, of course, is required for access control. And you have proof of all of the transactions because they're digitally signed, endorsed by relevant participants, and so on. And most critically, you have membership governance, which enables adding new organizations in a controlled manner through identity management and permissioned access. And there are access policies as well that are defined on the network. Let's review the capabilities of Oracle blockchain and the advantages we bring. Our platform is based on Linux Foundation open source project called Hyperledger Fabric. There's about 200, 250 companies participating in this. It first became available in Oracle Cloud in 2018, so it was 3 years old. We've combined the open source project with Oracle managed capabilities, container management, identity management, off-chain data sync, etc., to create a pre-assembled platform that you can literally go into our cloud, and with a few click provision, you can start a create request, and then you get an email telling you that it's been completed in about 10 to 15 minutes. It's a platform that's open. It interoperates with other Hyperledger Fabric nodes, whether from third parties or open source in the clouds on premises. And it has a lot of plug and play integration capabilities, so REST APIs, client SDKs, as well as adapters in the integration clouds that can work with on-premises and cloud applications from Oracle or third parties. We have added a lot of enterprise-grade capabilities around membership governance, fine-grained access control, enterprise high resiliency deployments across multiple availability domains, and so on, as well as a lot of performance improvements. And significant amount of automation in terms of DevOps using REST APIs for everything, literally from provisioning to creating new nodes, adding channels, setting policies, deploying chain codes, all of the lifecycle management, etc. We have added a lot of Oracle engineering into this platform, right? So making it easy to provision in the cloud, full capabilities around redundancy and replication, run it as an Oracle managed service with monitoring, patching, etc., being done by Oracle DevOps, identity management integration, including federation support for third-party identity providers, extended security options and auditability, such as on-chain audit log, blockchain integrity validation, etc., an API gateway for REST APIs and for event subscriptions with callbacks, management administration console, our developer tooling, low-code blockchain app builder, which supports project scaffolding and testing, as well as auto-generation of chain code. And recently, we've added tokenization support as well. Our Berkeley DB and SQLite-based ledger state database that provides SQL-based support for rich queries, but also 10x faster performance than the open source CouchDB. And finally, our rich history database, which integrates with Oracle database, pumps the data, the ledger transactions essentially, and feeds it into Oracle Analytics or third-party tools for data warehousing. When you go into Oracle Cloud, it's very easy to provision. OCI menu is a starting point. You drop into the developer services, and then you'll find the blockchain platform. And in here, this brings up the control plane, a few input fields, a few clicks, and you basically have set up a create request to provision it. 10-15 minutes later, you get an email, and all of these capabilities are already available, including the underlying infrastructure resources that the blockchain platform depends on, the Hyperledger Fabric nodes themselves, as well as add-on components from Oracle. So all of this is now available as Oracle Managed Blockchain as a Service. You can start using it, you can deploy samples, and you can also start developing and deploying your own smart contracts or chain codes. There is a console to make the web interface much easier. Everything in the console that you do from administration configuration perspective is also available through the REST APIs. There is lifecycle management for smart contracts, and there is also monitoring troubleshooting. You see an example here of peer node topology relative to the channel that they participate on. Let's look at this in a little bit more details.
View of the Oracle blockchain platform hosting the instance. The main dashboard shows the health of the network, channel activity, peer activity, and partition information showing transactions performed on the VMs. Cycling through the tabs, we see the trucking company has invited 4 participants to the network. Find resources that are in control of the trucking company. View the 11 channels set up on the network that all participants can join, and various installed chain codes. Next,
okay, let's pause here for a second. So what you saw here is a very quick overview of the blockchain console capability. What we're going to show next is a custom application built on this platform and how it operates.
Let's see how Oracle Blockchain Platform simplifies the life cycle of product creation to distribution. First, the producer company logs into their separate order management system, or SOR, to create a new product called Chicken Nuggets, entering all relevant product details. This is recorded directly to the blockchain, synced directly to all participants in the network, and available to order immediately. The grocery can now log in, browse the marketplace, and discover chicken nuggets are available, placing an order. As before, the transaction is recorded for everyone to see. Switching back to the producer, the grocer's new order is ready to be accepted. Then a shipping order created. The trucking company now logs in, sees the new request, and clicks Accept. The grocer can then dive into orders, view the shipping confirmation, and accept the delivery. The timeline of transactions is clearly recorded in the history.
This was just a quick overview. You can visit this YouTube link to see the rest of the demo here. As you saw, the application itself, of course, depends on the smart contracts. And one easy, quick way of beginning to develop smart contracts is to use our blockchain app builder, which you can download under Developer Tools tab. Right? There is blockchain app builder now, and then you download Visual Studio Code extension or command line interface, and also the specification samples available, which we continue to update. In addition, if you already have done work on smart contracts on other platforms like Ethereum, you can reuse your Solidity smart contracts on OBP after installing the Ethereum virtual machine chain code. And then you can use solutions like Remix ID, for example, to import existing Solidity chain codes, or you can create new ones, deploy them, and then ultimately invoke them against OBP. You also can invoke them using our blockchain REST API You see a snippet here where is a chain code name specified in the parameters, but here's a full curl command line that shows how to invoke Solidity chain codes against Oracle blockchain platform. And I mentioned earlier our enterprise edition. This is now available and has been available since 2019 as a virtualization offering. So this is a software appliance you can deploy in VMware, Oracle Linux Virtual Manager, or Oracle VirtualBox with full enterprise-grade features. There is a management component called Blockchain Platform Manager, acts as a cloud control point equivalent, control panel equivalent, where you essentially create instances, you provision them, you manage them, you can patch them, etc. It has full portability of features and APIs with cloud platforms, so very compatible. You can start development on one and then production on the other, vice versa. And it can participate in hybrid and multi-cloud networks, as you can see here as well. Everything we've been doing is focused on making blockchain easy for customers to adopt. And that starts at an infrastructure level, making it easy to deploy, but also making it easy to integrate through the REST APIs and enterprise adapters, easy to secure through membership management, on-chain access control, easy to manage without requiring a PhD in blockchain for operations, including enterprise-grade HA, lifecycle management, and analytics integration, and easy to expand and scale it from a couple nodes, 2-3 nodes you might start with for a pilot, to a broader network, either using Oracle nodes or third-party Hyperledger Fabric nodes from other providers for heterogeneous networks. And we have a number running in production today that are heterogeneous. All of this impact, or all of this effort around production-ready blockchain platform has now been supplemented with additional work we've done to make it easy to build blockchain applications. First, it starts by having a partner ecosystem of industry solutions for many vertical domains where you can pre-deploy those applications that partners have already provided. And then we have the low-code development tooling platforms, the blockchain app builder, which can automatically generate smart contracts, and it can also aid in development, testing, and deployment. And now it supports tokenization as a built-in feature with fungible tokens, and then NFTs are coming next. What you see here is a Visual Studio Code extension, and this is for interactive UI-based development, the spec file, and all of the controls. But there is also a command line version available for CI/CD automation. Full development lifecycle and code generation in TypeScript and Golang is available here as well. We generate the CRUD methods, and you see here the entire lifecycle. You start with a specification file in JSON or YAML. Then you generate the code and the profile of the project, scaffolding for the project. You can deploy this and use the APIs, REST APIs, to interact with the CRUD methods that are generated, create, query, update, delete for the chain code. But you can also extend it with the custom methods and then deploy it onto local Fabric. For testing, you can use debuggers for visual debugging, and then fully deployed on the Oracle blockchain platform cloud or on the enterprise edition once it's ready. Tokenization is an important focus area now for enterprises. There are a number of use cases such as loyalty programs, parts and document tracking, inventory finance, etc. But Hyperledger Fabric does not have a built-in tokenization support. So what customers and partners have done in the past is they have created emulated ERC20, which is an Ethereum standard, or ERC 721 for non-fungible tokens, business logic for application chain codes, and used it for a number of applications. So what we wanted to do is instead provide this as a built-in capability. So we've extended the app builder to generate the code using token taxonomy framework specification. This specification provides a meta model that defines base token types like fungible and non-fungible, behavior such as mintable, transferable, etc., and any custom properties you see here as exchange rate and so on. So all of this is defined in the spec file, and then you can generate directly from here full chain code. We currently support just for fungible tokens, and we have non-fungible tokens coming next. You can see that we generate token SDK, full set of functions for different behaviors, and then 30+ functions for token lifecycle support for things like initializing tokens and creating accounts and roles, as well as actual operations around minting or issuing tokens, transfer, etc. This is available also with built-in securities that's integrated in the chain code. So there is role-based control for who can mint, burn, etc. And all of that's built in as part of the solution. If you don't want to go through the blockchain app builder, you can also find a sample that's pre-built and pre-deployed in our console under samples. Here, you can install it, instantiate it, to tie it to a channel, and then invoke it through a variety of actions that are available here to issue tokens, transfer tokens, and all the rest. So this tokenization is now fully part of Oracle blockchain platform. Let's briefly review some of our customer success stories. Over 250 customers since 2018. Vast majority probably in financial services and supply chains. Those are the two biggest areas, but also public sector and healthcare. And you see a number of examples here, a number of financial services, banks, and other variety of financial services products. Traceability, anything from luxury goods like diamonds through intellectual property rights, clothing, footwear, health records, education records, and then global trade, shipping, food provenance. We mentioned Volvo cars, electric vehicle batteries, cobalt tracing, loyalties, and so on. So let's get into a little bit of details here, and you'll see icons on some of the slides that show links to either a customer video or a blog entry available for more details. So Arab Jordan Investment Bank has implemented this solution on Oracle blockchain a few years ago for cross-border funds transfer to replace the correspondent banking network for the subsidiaries that they operate in multiple countries. They have a message that comes in from the blockchain connector onto the blockchain network for particular transfer after it's been verified through the core banking and approved through AML. The message then raises an event for one of the other banks on the network. They can then retrieve the data and make it available after local checking as well in whatever application, digital banking tools that the customer is using. So same-day funds availability, full traceability, full audit trail. This is a second bank that I mentioned earlier that had a 10-day process to verify customer identity. Now they have a mobile app that makes it literally a 10-minute process to open an account, scanning the cards, scanning signatures, video call, filling out the form. All of that information becomes available as it's stored on blockchain, and it can be used for bank applications. It can also be used to share with others if the customer provides a permission. So that permission is also going to be logged on blockchain if they provided it. You see some quotes here talking about financial inclusion and removing the friction in the current KYC and onboarding process, as well as the full audit trail that this provides for the bank and for other participants. But a different example here, this was done for General Electric to modernize intercompany billing systems that's used by over 7,000 users across these different divisions. You see here, G Aviation, G Healthcare, G Corporate, etc., G Power, Energy. I mean, all of those organizations do a lot of business with each other to the tune of 4 million intercompany transactions. And that goes through a variety of ERP systems, and those 7,000 users then have to work through this intercompany billing system to handle reconciliation. Often some invoices don't get paid because reconciliation becomes complex and so on. So we've created a pilot using Oracle Blockchain Platform, integrating data flow from ERP systems through Integration Cloud in order to enable matching, purchase orders, invoices, receipts, etc., netting as well, so different legal entities don't have to do a lot of payments back and forth. They can net out the amounts and do a single payment. Settlement intercompany agreements that essentially codifies the business rules and controls. And then there is analytics built on top of that and a customer user interface. The benefit of the solution was to provide greater degree of independence to the different entities. So each has its own copy of the ledger for their transactions, events flowing back into the ERP systems to ensure that ERPs remain consistent, and ability to automate a lot of things from the single ledger, single source of truth that had required a lot of manual tracking before. Another solution in food, extra virgin olive oil, specifically certified origins, is a customer in Italy. They source the olives from across 100,000 farms, mills the oil in 900 audited mills, and they have full traceability from the client purchase order, typically from a store warehouse, through the entire production process, including the oil mills, and then the shipping process as well. So those three separate silos of information are now tied together using blockchain. All of these different organizations are now being traced, and the customers can scan the bottle to see actually full information of where the oil has come from, where it was milled, how it was delivered, how long it was in the warehouse before it arrived at the store, etc. Slightly different focus in fashion industries. This is Retraced, based in Germany. They focus on sustainability management and brand trust, empowered by transparency. So in the fashion industry, there is very complex supply chains, very dynamic supply chains, and it's always very difficult to find out where your clothing has come from, under what labor conditions it was made, what raw materials were used, and how the processes affected our planet. So Retraced has ability to map out the supply chain very dynamically, create mobile apps for scanning, then the information flows to the blockchain where it can be analyzed and ultimately made available to consumers when they buy the products. So this enables tracing between suppliers, manufacturers, all of the different folks, including down to individual employees in case of hand-produced items, and then information out to consumers as well. And in addition to provenance, again, they're able to track impact considerations such as CO2 emissions, water use footprint, etc., leveraging Oracle solution. And you see some examples here. In fact, they have over 20 different brands now using their system. Another example here, this is in India, secure logistics document exchange, recently launched by India Ministry of Commerce to handle online exchange of 36 common documents that used to be exchanged as physical copies. There's a lot of delays, fees, and high inspection rates because of potential for fraud. Now this is all done on blockchain between carriers, banks, exporters, importers, customs, and agents using logistics digilogger with local e-signing capabilities that's recognized by Indian government and the banks. And this now helps multiple banks to facilitate the export-import trade finance processes because trade documentation can be handled much faster without the delays, and it can simplify the payments and the collaboration across the entire export-import sector significantly. The example I mentioned earlier here was Circular, and this one focused on conflict minerals traceability. They're creating a digital twin for the actual raw mine commodities, such as ores, and then they trace it with entire digital thread from identity of the individuals involved in mining and the GPS data through mass balance calculations for refining to ensure no extra materials have been thrown in that are not legitimate, through shipping, manufacturing of cathodes and other specific devices, and into the logistics and final assembly in the cars. This process was pioneered on behalf of Volvo by the battery manufacturers LG Chem and Kettle, but Volvo was the first car makers that actually started tracing, and this has now been supplemented with other participants like Polestar and Mercedes-Benz because they all consume from the same kind of battery manufacturers. This has expanded again from provenance tracing to impacts such as CO2 emissions and so on. Another example here in terms of social goods, this is specifically for collecting plastic in Mediterranean coastal areas, recycling, manufacturing, and then ultimately selling products made out of recycled plastic. So all of the steps are being traced on the blockchain, and consumers now can determine that their particular product has been sourced from particular collection point, and then they have traceability to the entire end-to-end process here. Slightly different example here. This is with our partner Zua that supports NFT capabilities on Oracle blockchain platform. They provide a low-code development platform for marketplaces, NFT marketplaces that can be used by a variety of companies. So we have three examples here. The first one is a live event streaming and fan platform where headline artists can collaborate with their fans to create digital events, digital theater, concerts, and mint NFTs from that. We have a company that's using this also that's in personalized video space where sports video, professional video can be personalized to an extent, and then NFTs can be produced. And then finally, a news organization that is sourcing content around the world that has very rich archives, photos, and so on, and they have a lot of freelancers working with them as well, is building an NFT marketplace on this platform for their freelancers as well as for their internal use. Zua provides two types of marketplaces. There is, user-generated content for freelancers, for example, as well as operator-minute marketplace for company-owned IP, and they have very robust set of features. Let's talk briefly about how you can start your blockchain journey. So you want to look at where in your organization it makes sense to apply blockchain, and you want to ask some qualifying questions about processes that span company or group boundaries, as well as requirement for visibility into multi-party processes. And that ultimately translates into some of the specific objectives. We can help you in that process. We have significant investment in a number of resources in the field and in our consulting organizations that can work with customers on the discovery processes, share use cases, help design your blockchain, and ultimately help build an MVP, and all of that literally in a matter of days. From our product management team and industry teams down through the solution engineering, consulting, and partner organization. So you can learn more by going to oracle.com/blockchain or developer site, developer.oracle.com/blockchain. If you want to try it though, you have 30-day free trial available by going to oracle.com database world free tier. You can get cloud credits to create an account, provision an instance, deploy the samples, and then work with them, and also download blockchain upbuild and quickly generate your own chain code by using declarative specification. Additional resources also available, including our popular blog with a lot of technology materials as well as use case stories, our upbuilder video. You can go into our blockchain platform webpage and begin free trial from there, as well as download our enterprise edition and deploy it on your laptop. So thanks for participation in the session. Thanks for listening. You can reach me on my email or at LinkedIn. Thank you.